When Lemonade's Phil Edmonston exits this mortal coil, he will be smiling if he's convinced you not to buy or drive a too expensive, unsafe, fuel-eating car or other high-tech machine that may have unsafe safety features. Huh? Yeah. Unsafe, a luxury car with unsafe safety features.
Here's what happens. First of all, the early airbags, before we get to electric cars, early airbags were developed according to the engineering, the dimensions of the engineering test dummies for male, not for females. And they were killing women right and left and children as well, and they had to redesign things. Now what we have with electric cars, you have a dangerous situation that first responders on the autoroutes and elsewhere are trained how to extricate somebody from an electric car or a hybrid which has been in an accident. You have a lot of toxic materials from the batteries. You have a lot of electrical, live electrical leads that can electrocute you. You have a lot of things that before they get you out they have to deal with. But generally, I find the electric cars and the hybrid cars not my first choice if you want to have the fuel economy. First of all, the fuel economy is like with most cars in Canada, is exaggerated by about 10 to 15%. I was laughingly calling it like a liberal budget, but I really mean that you can't believe the figures that are being given to you. And the other thing is that the cost of getting into these vehicles is at the get-go is much more than you're going to get back with a Volt, for example, before perhaps 10 years or so. But you will get some savings. But if you're going to be driving, not just in the city, but everywhere, you don't get as much savings with a hybrid as you would in the city. And that's why the taxis in our city, because they're around stop and go in the city, are primarily Toyota Prius vehicles. But if you're on long commutes and you're driving from one city to the next, a good Honda Fit or a Hyundai Accent, the small cars, or a Honda Accord, not the Civic, because the Civic was redesigned in 2012. And it is not as good as the earlier ones. In fact, Consumer Reports this year and last year has made a non-recommended, I said below average, but a non-recommended rating because they think that the value of the vehicle has been decontented, or what you have.
But you talk in here, I think it was a Lexus. I'm not sure what year, with the stuck accelerator.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or the whole question of well, we had a sudden acceleration thing, which was Lexus as well as Toyota. Incidentally, you remember this story about the highway patrol guy who was stuck in the Lexus as it was speeding up, the highway patrol cop, and you hear the people screaming, and that was on all the news shows.
On the 911 call?
On the 911 call. I think it was a Lexus. Lexus said, no, it wasn't our problem. It was the mat, that went on the accelerator. And experts said, no, it was a problem with electronics, or it was a problem with the Lexus itself.
So he can't stop the car.
He can't stop.
And they recorded that call.
And they recorded, and the car overturns, and they all die. I think about 3 or 4 die. A lawsuit in California, gag order. They settle out of court, Toyota, after saying it wasn't their fault. They settled for, I think, about $10 million, but they didn't want to say how much they settled for or that they even settled. And a judge said, no, it's in the public interest to say, after you saying that there was no problem or it was a mat, you've settled out of court, that's fine for $10 million. And now that has actually inspired a lot of other people to stay with their cases in class actions.
Okay.
I think we're going to see this carrying on further and further.
The smoke and the mirrors. Mid-size pickup. If you wanted to buy a mid-size pickup, a small pickup, I think you're a fan of the Japanese cars.
Well, generally.
Japanese pickups,
well,
yes?
Japanese pickups are probably like the Mazda and the Nissan Frontier and the Hondas. Excellent. But there are some GM cars, for example, if you take a look at the Terrain, the Traverse, or the Acadia. Excellent. Even though Consumer Reports, I don't understand this. Sometimes I was on the board of directors of Consumer Reports for 3 years, and one of the things is that I disagree sometimes from what my complaints are and what Consumer Reports say, but they gave it a recommended rating. These vehicles I mentioned, as I do, But they had all these black spots, for reliability, and I haven't seen that at all. So wondering, once again, they have over 1 million reports from people who are their members at Consumers Union. I'm just wondering if it's not just the demographics of people who are complaining about these cars. I don't know, but I do know that my readers of Lemonade, they get back to me and they're very happy. So Japanese, yes, but also you've got GM, Ford, Chrysler, no.
So what do you think about the bailouts on Obama's watch and
And
Chrysler
on
seems
Harper's
to have come
watch,
back
too.
Harper's watch.
I think they're stupid. I think that they create a situation where we're paying for jobs far more than what it would cost us if we created them themselves. For example, Harper, our Prime Minister, has given money to Toyota in order to produce in Ontario these vehicles which are hybrids, the Lexus. The market's going to encourage them anyhow to produce the Lexus hybrids. That's going to happen naturally. I would much prefer to see our federal government not throw money away, which I think they're doing for 400 jobs, but to really have a program where we can have a made-in-Canada vehicle which runs on natural gas. We have all this natural gas that is waiting to be sold and much less expensive than other gas. Oil-based gas, and at the same time we create jobs which are sustainable. I am not a kind of what they call tree hugger. NDP, yes, I was elected,
Yes,
but
you were.
I feel that we have to use common sense, and I believe, even though the NDP may be split on some areas about fracking and natural gas, I think that's the future, that and diesel. And clean diesel that we're having now. And the electrics and the hybrids are just interim solutions that are not going to be in the long haul.
Well, the whole green area is complex, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Try to figure out how to save the planet. We know we have to. That's important.
But we're
for the
hypocrites.
grandkids.
We're hypocrites. Look at the vehicles that the ministers are driving. Okay, look at what the government. Don't listen to what politicians say. Watch what they do, because it's quite different. And I think Suzuki and others are right on the mark as to what we can do by starting ourselves, saying this is what used cars. Someone said, well, why not a new car? Well, it's very basic. A used car, you're not putting another vehicle on the market. You're not taking another parking space. You're not contributing any more emissions that are already there. And used cars are the basic thing that you have in being green. Conservation, preservation, and renewal. You do all of that.
However, you are feeding the people on the line that are making the new cars.
Oh, yeah,
like, you're generating.
So let's get made in Canada cars and try to even it out and not be so dependent upon one kind of vehicle.
Back to your early days. How did you get to Canada in the first place? Medic. You'd think you would be like an orthopedic surgeon or something in Florida, but you're living in Panama.
Well,
you're
I'm
not
kind
a
of-
doctor. You're a car guy. You ran in Quebec. You're in Parliament.
Yeah.
How'd you come to Canada? Why?
Fell in love, followed a
that.
Canadian girl, found that it really suited my rebellious temperament. Quebec in the 60s was extremely contestatory. It was
Yes, and you were a nationalist, right?
yeah, I felt that I felt that Canada was big enough and strong enough to permit Quebec to have certain rights, and Calgary, or actually Alberta and BC, certain rights as natural resources, that if you give one province certain powers and another one certain other powers, it's like a family where you have children who have special needs. And if you deal with those special needs, you don't necessarily break up that family. I think you reinforce it. And that's exactly what they did. And I was on the Constitution Committee, and I'm glad that led us to not necessarily save the Union, because we did. I believe our work did. We barely won the referendum. And when I say won, that means I was against the Charlottetown referendum after recommending it, and then the premiers changed the question, and then I campaigned against it, and it didn't pass. But what we did do was that we were able to cut down the duplication of government, because that was a big argument in Quebec, and we were able to make it more efficient. All the things that Obama has to do right now, we did way back in 1990, 1995, because it was a point of contestation of Quebec. So Quebec put our feet to the fire so we became leaner, much more efficient generally, and also much more responsive to the base. And I think that was good.
Would you run again?
No, it's
Either
a young
country?
No, it's a young man or young woman's game. Plus, I'm able to speak with the NDP people. I hope provincially here to get the Lemon Law passed. Once if they do get in power.
So you think the NDP is going to form the next government? Do you?
I think they have a good chance. Yeah, I've said that before. I also am very happy that we've got Tom O'Kerr. I think that gives the NDP as a leader nationally real good chance to form the next government, because we've got Quebec inside and without giving away the store, and at the same time, I think the Liberals and the Conservatives are on their last legs.
Well, the pollsters would be interested in talking to you. And Car of the Year awards are baloney. You have to buy the book to find out why.
That's right. Every car is a Car of the Year for somebody.
For somebody.
Yeah.
And somebody gets paid to say it's the car of the year, and suddenly you say, I'm going to drive the car of the year because it's the best car, and you say, not necessarily.
You get paid big money. A lot of people who say this is Car of the Year, it works. Magazines want to do it because it adds to their advertising lineage, and at the same time, some people buy that, but women don't.
Of course not. Nice to see you. Phil Edmonston, Lemonade, New Cars and Trucks, out, 43rd edition. Remember, you can catch our conversation on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Fanny Kiefer. There'll be many more rabble-rousing guests to come. Thanks for watching Shaw TV and being with me today.